Welcome back to Charging Stack, where we talk with the people shaping the future of mobility and infrastructure. Today, we're joined with Manos Papoutsakis and Ivana. He's a project coordinator at Fort, who's leading the EU-funded Pattern project, which is short for Planning a Digital Twin for Greener Roads Infrastructure. Pattern is building a digital twin for roads, a live data-driven model that helps cities plans maintain and manage infrastructure for more sustainability. We're also joined by, as I said, Ivana Maršić from MyRio Solutions, one of the Pattern's key consortium partners who's coordinating workshops and helping implement the project's next pilot in Croatia. Manos and Ivana, it's great to have you here both.
Thank you. Thank you, Mario.
Thank you.
I would like to start kind of from beginning, how Pattern started. Manos, can you tell us what made you think roads needed something like as a digital twin?
Basically, we noticed how differently a road behaved during throughout the day. Let's take for example a street near a school. During the morning, it is packed with cars, kids are crossing the road, etc. But it's quite quiet during the noon and the evening, of course. So having a digital version of that road that shows exactly what happens, that will allow cities to understand different kind of issues that may occur and make smarter decisions without waiting basically for things to go wrong. They can be proactive, let's say.
So you've been working on IoT and data systems for years. How did that background help you shape the Pattern? Let's say, how did that background help you in moving to this project?
A very basic idea is that technology works only if people can actually use it. So in our case, we focused on simplicity, let's say. We have one platform, one dashboard, real-time insights, and road authorities and future users of our platform basically can use it without the need to be data experts. So instead of just giving raw data that some sensor collects, we provide clear traffic flow indicators.
Yeah, it's a really cool project and a product. And I just want to kind of circle back. We had a Claire from Green Roads AI, so we kind of have a background, on this topic. Mentioned the technology in our podcast, and we really sparked a great interest when she was talking about it. She was constantly mentioning, we are not tracking someone, who is jaywalking. We are monitoring the traffic, we're monitoring the movements, and she shared with us all her demos, which we can talk about later, which were super interesting. So again, maybe asking you, so when you started the project, what challenge were you the most, let's say, excited, eager to tackle, to solve? Was it like cost, safety, again, sustainability, or something else in your opinion?
All of them,
All of the
everything you
above.
mentioned. No, everything is important. Okay, yeah, for sure. However, we really think that the biggest challenge is safety. Because roads are shared spaces. Drivers, cyclists, as you said, pedestrians, everybody use it. So, for example, if you see people that are crossing a road in places where there are no pedestrian crossing, that's a signal that the specific road, the infrastructure, isn't matching the real behavior. Our platform Pattern wanted to make these kind of patterns visible in real time to cities, to municipalities, to road operators, and in that way help them fix these kind of issues. So by noticing these kind of patterns that a road isn't used the way it was supposed to be used, we can fix issues regarding accidents before they happen.
Really interesting. Again, and so for someone hearing a word digital twin, for example, I wanted to clear for myself when I was starting this interview, I wanted to know what actually digital twin means. So can you explain in your words, in your case, what a digital twin is in regarding to Pattern and its project?
Okay, I get it. The first time I heard it, I didn't know what it actually means. But in simple words, let's say that it is a digital copy of of the road, since we are talking about the roads now, of the road that not only depicts the road itself, but what actually happens right now on the road. Not what happened last week, last year, but what is happening now. So we are using cameras, we are using AI components in order to understand the cars that are crossing the road, the people that are crossing the road, and in order to find out unusual issues and events that happen. And all that information is depicted for the operators of the road to use it, to understand it, and to use it, of course.
So now a question for Ivana listening to this. For our, we can say, Balkan roads, Mediterranean roads, Eastern European roads, how does this project reflects? What is some of our common pain points that pattern can solve in the future?
Looking at the road infrastructure in general, recently, like the road infrastructure in Croatia is quite advanced comparing to what was like 10, 15 years ago. But still, there are still so many opportunities for improvement, especially to identify like congestion zones, to identify like critical points, and actually introduce technology to simulate the real life situation and provide, let's say, scenarios for optimization of the traffic, road infrastructure, and especially also like in the process of building and constructing basically new infrastructure, new roads. This can be like a great like the starting point to explore the data, and based on this to actually select the direction in which like the construction should proceed, and to identify the most optimized solution. So this is how I see it. But of course, in many cases there are similarities, but also there are differences between like the road infrastructure in different countries in the region, but as well in the whole Europe, because there are also like many other issues that are involved in terms of like governing a system, authorities in charge of the roads, like different regulations. Of course, it's EU, so there are some generic regulations, but in some cases there are some country-specific regulations. Of course, privacy requirements, data processing, real-time data processing, etc. So there are like different angles how like ambition of this project should be actually.
Well, so talking specifics, maybe a question for both of you. What kind of a data goes into the system? Traffic sensors, weather, maintenance data. Can we be a bit more specific to maybe, to our listeners to make them understand easier what are we talking about here?
Okay. So currently we have components that can process video and audio, and that input help us understand how the road operates. Of course, our next step is to combine this kind of input with weather and maintenance data. In that way, we will be able to understand not only just what happens, but why it happens.
So how does that differ from let's say, where some kind of a software most road authorities use right now in Europe? And maybe you can tell us what kind of softwares are being used right now, and where the pattern project kind of steps up from the current situation. What is actually the current situation of the some kind of a softwares are being used by authorities, etc.?
You're right. There is software that is used. Most of the times, it's like traffic counters. Let's say they are able to count how many cars have passed and set. However, just counting the number of cars or whatever vehicles, it's not enough. I mean, our platform can not only show that there is a specific traffic level in one road, but also can show what is the event that causes this traffic. It could be, let's say, an incident that just occurred, or some people are crossing the road in unsafe spots, and all that creates, a level traffic that is not usual. So how our platform is advanced, it helps understand why it's happening, why an incident is happening.
We've seen those cameras that are mentioning multiple times here in Croatia, and reading on the news portals. Don't you worry, it's not another speeding camera. This is just to count. Yeah, that's amazing. So let's say in a practice, how can a city use a pattern to make better decisions every day? Let's say, What's the implementation process like?
Okay. Let's say, as I already said, pattern can detect unusual events. So let's say that a lane is blocked. There is a minor accident. If you see that proactively, if you manage to spot the incident in time, that means you can start some mitigation actions. And the mitigation actions can result in avoiding long traffic queues, which also will reduce also the pollution. We have now the concept of green decisions, let's say. So if green decisions are coming from planning based on real behavior of the road, instead of just assumptions, try to find out what causes what without having any data, without having a platform, a system that provides you with the actual reason of incidents.
So when we talk about testing, as I said, we talked with Claire. We went into, tiniest details about, her implementation in Malta.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't actually remember if I asked her this, but like, why Malta? Why start with Malta? Why is there something specific about it? We know it's not a big country, so it's maybe that could be a reason potentially.
More or less, Malta is a real and concentrated mobility environment.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you can see different behaviors on the roads throughout a day. So from that perspective, it's perfect for us in order for our components to be able to learn all these patterns, the road patterns. However, there is another thing. We have our partners, as we already have mentioned, Green Roads and Infrastructure Malta, and they were ready to collaborate closely. And also they were eager to try new solutions like the one that we have produced. So that makes Malta, these two aspects, let's say, make Malta the perfect place to start, learn, and then from that go to a bigger scale.
So Malta is kind of like a small playground for the future.
It's very important that some things can become easier there because a big country brings big
problems.
bureaucratical issues.
Oh yeah, yes. Yeah, absolutely. So maybe question for you, Ivana. So again, Greece and Croatia on the horizon are next. What's going to be different about those pilots?
Yeah.
In comparison to Malta.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as already mentioned, there are similarities but also specifics. So the point is that we need to identify like the pain points, like the road with the pain points, and actually put cameras there or actually use existing cameras. So just before answering your question, just to point out that this solution can be also integrated with the other existing solutions. So depending on the current technology, state of the art. So it can be integrated with some existing solutions to create like more advanced solution, or it can be used as existing, like the solutions, depending on the specifics and the requirements. So, regarding the differences, first, it depends on the advancement and technology level of the road infrastructure in Croatia and Greece. We are in the process of evaluating this. So I don't think it's possible to compare the situation on the overall level, but it's possible to compare like similar, let's say, bigger cities and the situations in the bigger cities and some kind of, let's say, logistics hub, where there is a more complicated, let's say, it's like the road infrastructure needed, but also like there is a point where like this capturing data makes really sense and can really provide the value and the benefit. So at the end, everything comes back to what's the benefit that this solution brings, and to identify business case that it can prove that this benefit solves certain problems in certain, of course, period of time, because it takes some time to capture data, to process data and simulate like real life environments to understand, how to proceed with this. But as I said, we are in the process of evaluating this potential for these pilots in Greece and Croatia. And also just to extend that, we also like in the scope of this pattern project, we're also trying to identify some other potential solutions that can fit in, let's say, our portfolio. And in that case, also create like end-to-end solution depending on the requirements for this certain, area, because it depends whether it's some some like roads like under authority of the national level or like regional level or municipality or city. So, that brings certain complexity in the overall project implementation.
Oh,
Hope I
speaking,
answered your question. Yeah.
yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just listening, and I'm just thinking it's a great product overall. I mean, in a simple language and a simple message. I mean, we've lived in a society, especially in the bureaucracy in Europe, where everything kind of takes a long time to change, where you see something happening every day. You see a crossroad that maybe it's not supposed to be there, or people are jaywalking somewhere, or there needs to be some kind of a bridge, or, accidents happen on some kind of a corner or somewhere. And green roads can definitely shorten that period of time of change. So change can happen much faster, and you can approach someone and be like, okay, here, this is the data. Nothing is made up. This is what actually is going on. So yeah, I'm just thinking in my head, it's definitely something that we need, and definitely something that, especially taking in mind how much of an AI we use in our daily lives. I mean, where our transportation definitely it's needed. Definitely, it's needed. So even MyRio is helping to lead. So I've kind of briefly asked you this, but like, can you tell us like what that kind of involves from your end and the company you work for?
Yeah. So, I mean, the objective of the Pattern project is to finalize development and implement the trial in Malta, as already said. But the objective also is to gather some lessons learned and translate those learnings in the pilots in Croatia and Greece. So currently, through my company and being like a member of the consortium, we are in the process of identifying stakeholders from the public and private sector interested in this project and understanding benefits that this project can bring to the local or national level in terms of infrastructure and optimization of the infrastructure and the traffic optimization. Also, we plan to have a workshop next year, and the goal is to bring together all potential stakeholders, present pattern partners in the consortium, and actually also to provide more detailed information about Malta trial outputs, accomplished objectives, lessons learned, and to create a roadmap for preparation of the project and future implementation in Croatia. So, of course, this is a kind of a complex project that requires collaboration from different parties. And the focus is also on identifying needs related to existing road infrastructure and also governance level and how to approach perspectives. So the workshop is planned for the next year. The date is still to be determined on the other activities that are planned in scope of the project. But the goal is to bring together all potential stakeholders and pattern partners, on the consortium, and also to provide information about Malta trial and outputs to make presentation and actually present accomplished objectives, lessons learned, and together, to create a roadmap for preparation of the project and the future implementation in Croatia based on the learnings from Malta. So the focus is to identify needs related to existing road infrastructure, whether on the national level, like local level, municipality, town, like the city itself, and identify all stakeholders, their synergies eventually, and to approach to project preparation, because the point is to together prepare like proposal to apply for additional funding to have resources to finalize this initiative in Croatia. But also, it is important to evaluate existing projects related to the traffic optimization in Croatia, identify similarities and differences, understand if there is a potential to upgrade and improve existing technology, or identify some critical points where technology hasn't been deployed yet, and where it would make sense to implement new technology that will really solve the burning issues.
So can we know maybe, is there a date in mind for this workshop? A place?
It's still not defined, but probably it will be February or late or end of March.
Okay.
And also, I'm using also this opportunity to invite all potential interested parties to learn more about the pattern project and also who would be interested in becoming also partner in the future project in Croatia. So you are all very welcome to attend to this workshop. It's not planned to be like a big event. It was envisioned as a, like kind of a smaller gathering where really like people that are really interested and especially like potential stakeholders can meet, talk, identify some issues, and common objectives, and really, create some let's say critical mass of the interest to pursue with the next steps of the project. So that
Absolutely.
brings together like road agencies, like city governments, municipalities, regional agencies, private operators, but also like technology integrators that could be interested in this.
Absolutely. We're encouraging everyone who's listened to this podcast to share their thoughts also in the comments and on LinkedIn. We are more than happy to connect you with Ivana. And now I got circling back to Manos again. Let's say technically, what's been the hardest part when it comes to creating something like this? Was it collecting data, aligning formats, getting institutions, again, this more implementation, but let's say from the software side, what's been the hardest to produce something like this?
Of course, we are talking about different software that is developed by different institutes, different people. So you have to keep in mind that there is, of course, the initial effort of creating the tool itself, and then there is additional effort that you have to put everything together, make one tool communicate with the other, and all of them work together in a way to produce the final output.
Mhm.
So that's, of course, it has its difficulties, all this process. However, let me say that, okay, that's basically what we do. I mean, we are computer scientists. This is our everyday job. Somehow it's more difficult for us. We are not used to the rest of the processes. I mean, we have to align institutes, to agree on data sharing, to make sure that privacy procedures are understood and followed.
Mm-hmm.
As Ivana already said, every city has its own rules and different stakeholders, and there is need for a lot of cooperation. That, in my mind, is a little bit more difficult than the
So
technical
the most
part.
challenging thing.
Yeah, than the technical part, because I'm used to the technical side of things, but not to the rest.
So again, you kind of mentioned aligning data privacy compliances from combining multiple sources, softwares. Is most of the system cloud-based, or do some analytics happen closer to the sensors on the road? How does that part go?
Now, most of the processing happens in the cloud. I mean, the cameras send the video stream, we anonymize it, and then the whole analytics process begins. What it makes it easier is by having everything in cloud, makes it easier to update, scale, and manage everything centrally. Of course, we have also worked and tested some more lightweight components that could run closer to the source of the data, the cameras, let's say. For example, I mentioned the anonymization. That could be a component that could run really close to the camera or on the camera, because in that way, everything is anonymized instantly, and then nobody can have access to personal data that they shouldn't.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by anonymized? To someone who doesn't know, what does that mean in this process, in this case? Because I think a lot of people will be like, oh, is this a mass surveillance project? And then when you mention, it's not, you're not collecting data to spy on someone. So what does anonymizing a process means?
It could be scary, you are right. But no, actually what we do, we anonymize everything as soon as we get it. I mean, let's talk about video. We blur people's faces and plates from the cars, so nobody can anonymize anyone. And then, except from that, we then keep the data that we need for the processing part, and we discard everything else. And even those, after the processing of the data, even that data is discarded too. So if someone wants to find something, they cannot, because nothing is there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Of course, there are different levels of anonymization, and we have to be compliant with GDPR, etc. So we know what is the next step regarding anonymization, and we are working on that.
Awesome. Well, that clears a lot of dust in the air. So Pattern is still a research project, but of course we see there's a big commercial potential of the commercial use of monetization. Again, who do you see as early adopters? Again, road agencies, city governments, private operators. Can you just break it down for us, your kind of niche that you're targeting? Who are you targeting? And, what the application can be for this project?
You know what they say, sky is the limit.
Sky's the limit. Yeah, absolutely.
Ivana already mentioned almost every kind of user that you also just mentioned. The early adopters should be the city governments and the road agencies because they already deal with traffic, pedestrian safety, urban planning, and things like that. They can benefit for such kind of platforms like the one we have developed by having real-time insights instead of waiting, reports that could be produced after 4 or 6 months, etc., and will show the actual operation of the roads. So these are the early adopters, let's say. However, there is room for private operators too, because they can also benefit from such a platform. Let's say that we have a company that manages parking, or Ivana mentioned before, logistic hubs. For these companies, understanding movement and detecting incidents can improve safety and, of course, their efficiency.
Are we, for let's say cities, are we talking Pattern as being a standalone tool or integrating with existing systems? You did mention before that the existing cameras can be still used for Pattern.
That's true, because cameras is our source of data. So we can just use existing cameras. We don't need specific kind of cameras in order to get the video snippets. And of course, the goal is our tool, our platform to fit the city's workflow, not the other way around. So it is built in a way that it can be used, of course, as a standalone if there is no current using infrastructure, but it can also be used as an add-on to the existing infrastructure.
Yeah, really good. Ivana, from your perspective, working with the local governments, what's the biggest factor that help projects like this move to the actual deployment? What does it take? What are some regular hurdles, some difficulties you face every day? Can you just kind of break it down for us?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, this is actually complex project that requires like interdisciplinary approach. So that's why it's important to identify stakeholders from different fields, and that includes, like urban planning, public policy, data science, of course, engineering. And at the end, it's always important to identify like the communities, either like on national, regional, or like municipality level that can recognize the need for this project, that they want to improve like their road and traffic infrastructure and provide solutions that can optimize, current situation. And I think there is definitely a great need for this. And it's important to identify business case, as already mentioned, to clarify like expected benefits for all stakeholders and have quantifiable output results. It's also important to have defined roles of all stakeholders and clear expectations. So this is altogether what I mentioned. It's a process that takes some time. And also, on the other hand, it's important to take into account some regulatory aspects that are necessary for implementation of this project, especially related with data privacy and data storage. And on the other hand, it's also important to actually identify like it is interdisciplinary project that requires interdisciplinary approach. And challenges are mostly related with identifying like the right partners and identifying stakeholders that can be really engaged and that can recognize the value. And it's important to identify business case and quantifiable output results, define roles for all stakeholders, and have clear expectations in this. Also, on the other hand, it's important to say that this project requires significant funding. So that's why it's important to, let's say, join forces on different levels and secure financial support from public, like private partnership potential sources that can help in the development and implementation of this solution.
Question for Manos. Let's say by the end of the decade, what kind of an impact do you hope Pattern will have on European cities or whatever, whoever the final customer is? Fewer incidents, road closures, lower maintenance costs, lower emissions, all the above?
It could be all. I mean,
Yeah.
the key here is to make cities and potential customers in general be proactive, to be able to make decisions before a problem becomes a problem. So that could be the accidents, as you mentioned, that could be the traffic waste, it could be anything. Being proactive is the key here. And this is exactly what our platform wants to do, to make the users proactive.
Okay, I think we're kind of getting towards the end of this podcast. Thank you so much for your answers. We still have one more section, which is going to involve a quick fire round where I ask a question and then for like a sentence or two, something simple.
Okay.
It was really interesting to hear all your perspectives so far. So to wrap this up, most underrated. You can maybe potentially both give your opinions on this, your answers. Most underrated trend in infrastructure tech right now, in your opinion.
Do you want to go first?
Okay, I find quite interesting like decentralized digital identity platforms. I don't think that there's so much debate on this. Like there is everybody's talking about like blockchain and crypto and using it in the financial world. But this is something that I find quite interesting.
Okay, interesting. For you, Manos?
I would pick open data standards. I mean, they can make each other to talk to everyone to talk to each other, and by doing so, that accelerates everything. So yeah, really important.
Okay, it's important in that. One buzzword you'd be happy never to hear again. Something that's in your industry, everybody's talking about it, but you call it a BS.
You know, for me, it's AI powered. Everything
powered.
everything is AI powered today.
Yeah.
It's okay for now, but I think it will become old. Really.
Yeah. We'll all get sick of hearing AI powered and AI fueled. Yeah, I agree. Ivana, your opinion?
Yeah, I agree with Manos on this, definitely. Yeah,
So
because
all AI buzzwords, we're just want to get rid
becomes
of
like
them.
buzzword without
A country you'd love to bring Pattern to next. Maybe a country you'd love to bring Pattern next. Maybe besides Greece and Croatia that are already planned. Is there something in the pipeline? Some country that also can be attacked, let's say, next?
I would say Italy.
A lot of potentials. Yeah.
Italy?
If I had to choose one, it would be Portugal. You know, great cities, walkable streets, forward thinking regarding urban planning. Yeah, it's a good choice.
Yeah, we had a great collaboration. One of the Portuguese companies called UV they developed their own app and the whole platform for real-time payments for public transport. Would love to connect you guys. Maybe there is something you guys can share.
Nice.
And collaborate on. One feature, maybe this is more for Manos, one feature you cannot wait to add to the platform.
For me, it's always security. I mean,
security.
Yeah. I mean, right now we focus on the analytics and the anonymization part and things like that. But you can also add more security to whatever you build. Yeah, security and access control will be really important when our product when the users will start using our product.
Okay, so security is something that it's of course when something it's related to the to cities, to go to government, to municipalities. Yeah, makes total sense. Well, this was the last one of we drained every question I have prepared for us today. Big thanks to Manos Papoutsakis and Ivana Maršić for joining us. You're great guests. Pattern is definitely showing how digital twins can make road infrastructure smarter, greener, and easier to manage. Starting in Malta, as we said, expanding to Greece and Croatia soon, with support from partners like Ivana, like MyRio Solutions. It's definitely a reminder that, next big step in the mobility innovation isn't just about vehicles. It's about smarter roads. It's about better data. It's about data collection. So stay tuned for more inspiring success stories coming your way. We got an incredible lineup of guests ahead. Thank you, Miles. Thank you, Ivana, once more, and hope to have you again sometime in the future to see how the pattern is going. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you. It was really nice to participate. Thank
Yeah.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to the next interactions.